Good evening. Hello, Cliff. Wicker boy. Gideon, how are you doing? I feel those six horn Taurus as well. Kind of a case of I'm not hungover anymore. I just wanted to sleep forever. Just wanted, not in a bad way, just kind of a don't make me get up, cats. Don't make me get up. I stayed up a bit last night. I was working Bloodstained. That's the name of it. I have a list. I have a list of all the items that I'm working on, like grinding out. I think I'm level 40 now. All my familiars are level 20 at least. And it's. I need diamonds, which are light elementals, which I don't think I've killed yet. Bovine plumes, demon fangs, demon tails, gold. All these things are items that you can't get from monsters from the area I've unlocked yet, so I've been trying to making a list of things that I can acquire to advance the shards I do have. And actually finally selling shards as well because I've hit cap on some of the common ones. But they're like worth nothing. And then buying things like, oh, I have 5,000 gold, and then needing a few supplies, just a few supplies. A little bit of gunpowder, you know how it is. And back down to like less than 1,000 gold. I feel like I'm scrimping in the game for money. Is that the way it's supposed to be? The way it's supposed to be? I honestly don't know. I feel like in a lot of games I don't end up I end up with too much money, if that makes sense. Don't you get so much. Kind of an unneeded number after a certain point. But I'm actually buying things, so that might be part of the problem, so to speak. Scrumblo? What is Scrumblo? I don't get it. I don't get it. I think it also kind of sucks, as far as I know. I don't look up things if I know a source for where to get them. Or I try not to, aside from one times when it was kind of a case of like, I could be here for 2 hours trying to figure out exactly where I encountered this one demon that I've unlocked that I see a picture of, or I could look it up. But I know that you could buy flour. I don't think you can acquire flour from the monsters on the field. I know you can get cheese. I know you can get lemons and tomatoes and meat from them, but not flour. So it's kind of a case of, well, money's that's one place where the money's going. Demon. Ah. Okay. I've never actually played Shin Megami Tensei. I remember when one of them came out. When it was the Blu-ray HD DVD wars. I remember seeing someone play that Shin Megami Tensei. Or Persona rather, I guess I should say. I don't like call them all SMT, do they? It's a Persona game. Hmm. I like to think about that. Scrumbo, it's kind of a. Was that a Moon thing? Did he have a critter called Scrumbo? And by critter, I mean like a character. Is? What, for not having played it or for calling it the wrong name? I honestly don't know what the difference is between the Shin Megami Tensei and the Scrumpo. Yeah, Scrumpo! He was a Snurflurblin, right? I know he played him in a D&D game, but he also... I feel like Scrumpo was also part of something else as well. Yeah. uh, I miss Eddie. I miss Eddie. It's been a couple of years. It's been a couple of years. Oh, you don't like Persona? Is it the translation or like the game as a whole? Rumors? In the game? Hmm. I don't know why I kind of gravitate towards using SMT for the name versus Persona. Aside from like when I think Persona, I think of a user persona first. Today's tea is a breakfast tea to wake me up. It's a breakfast tea to wake me up. I don't really interact with fandoms very strongly, so I don't really get those. I, hmm, I actually stay a few hands away from a lot of that sort of thing. But maybe part of that is also, when I was growing up, didn't really have a whole lot of options for that. And, you know, don't talk to strangers on the internet was a very big mantra. So it was all like friends I already knew talking about things that they found through non-interactive means. Not hearing someone else talking about it in a chat room or anything like that, but more so a website. Like, why would you ever contact the person who runs the website? Why would you do that? Yeah, that was right too. Like, maybe I would enjoy. So, just thinking, Nekma, since you brought that up, because Boolean is reading Homestuck, right, on stream, and it's kind of a case of I never got into Homestuck partially because of when I say partially, I mean like 95% fandom. Like, sure, they made it popular. Ow. Sure, they made it popular. I suppose, like, spreading the word about it. But at the same time, everything else about that thing. So, like, I never read it. I have no fond memories of it, but maybe I should still stop in for this Homestuck reading. You enjoyed it way more when you never looked. Mm. Just back away from the Tumblr. Away from the Tumblr. I had a Tumblr so I could follow artists, really. Not even like specific fandom artists, other artists. Trying to catch them when they had commissions open or something like that. Or interpreting it as the new live journal, actually, because live journal got, I want to say got weird. But I think once it was bought out, it was never the same. Not quite the same. Anyone else remember live journal? Zanga, those things. That was, let's go. It's still not alive. I did actually meet someone that I talked to first over LiveJournal. Oh, and LiveJournal is not exactly the place to be, but like smaller knit communities, I guess. Thinking about it. Aside from Facebook, which sort of didn't count at the time because it was locked down to schools. So you had to be a student or a teacher, I suppose. Not that that really amounts to a whole lot in the end, I suppose, for meeting strangers off the internet. But, hmm. Yeah, thinking about other people conventions, do those count? Maybe they kind of do. Maybe I did meet a few people off the internet early-ish on. Not like super early. In the wild days of the aughts. Wild, wild days of the aughts. When you only know them through typing and not through audio or video. Though there was a cam, there were a few webcam shows, right? I say shows. There was what, one girl who like basically lived her life through a webcam at the time. I think that was that before the aughts? It probably was. It must have been. It must have been. It must have been the 90s. Cam, like, she had like a live. It was a journal. It was a cam journal type thing. I swear. If you look up like the first person who streamed, basically, the first person who streamed, not on Twitch, uh, live streaming. Hmm. Okay, so I'm thinking of Jennifer Ringley's Jenny Cam, 96 to 2004. She wasn't the first, but she was one of the first ones who was successful at it, I suppose. So she was the first live caster, so to speak. But I don't think. Oh, so she wasn't a cam girl in the modern definition. She considered herself an artist, though. So, as sometimes artists do, they do not censor their work. But it was not like the main draw or anything. That was more of, I think, a like, aside. So it was like one picture a minute for her. And yeah, Steve Man streaming with a wearable wireless webcam. And is he still going on? Steve Man doing his thing? I'd imagine it's a bit difficult now. I don't know what any of these things are. Looking at his. Thank you for the subscription. Millions and 10. Thank you for the subscription. Art is subjective. She's not the first, she's the worst. It's not first past the barrier who. I want to say, remove. Haven't you heard of. I'm trying to remember. I think it was like Windows tablets. Windows did, I think. Windows did tablets first, but they didn't catch on. That does happen when people subscribe, I think. It's just that on ASMR day, I make it quieter. Like, you can't hear it. Oh, there's one more thing I didn't do. Where is it? I always forget that I need to refresh something before I deal with it. Okay. I'm fine. A little bit of gnoming doesn't hurt that bad. Granted, that was a lot of gnoming. Okay, I do easily. It'll be tomorrow. That's why I leave time in between streams, so you can't see the bruising from the gnomes. So you can't see the bruising from the gnomes. Something else though. I think there's also there have been a few other cases where they're not the first one to do something, especially in technology, and they get brushed aside. So, what is it? A BlackBerry? Guess who's no longer around? Do you know what a BlackBerry is? Who made the first? Who made the first smartphone? Okay, so there's IBM Simon. They weren't in the game at all. There's also like MP3 players. Mm-mm-mm. Those... I guess no, it doesn't really count anymore, does it? Because no one has a standalone MP3 player. I say no one. Some people do. I think they still kept their shuffles and stuff. Craigslist? Craig? I mean? That kind? I don't know any other Craigs. Mm. Mm. What else came back? When did... I think it might also be like a change in terminology, like popularizing it, because when you think BlackBerry, you think business, right? It was a PDA. It was a personal digital assistant. But really, what is a personal digital assistant? What is a personal... What differentiates a PDA from an iPhone? Or, not from an iPhone, from a smartphone? It's... I feel like a part of it is marketing. It's making you feel old. I want to say, you're not even... Are you a hag yet? Wait till I drag out my first MP3 sometime if I still have it around. I can find a photo of it. My first MP3 player. I remember having to explain to flight attendants what it was to make sure that it was okay for the... It was an okay electronic device to have back in the day. It fit. You know how much my MP3 player fit and how much it cost? Oh, I need to put in the right name. I need to put in the right name for it. I probably also should have... Okay, here's a good photo of one. Gives you an idea of how big they were, too. I'm putting it in there. I wasn't the one who bought it, so I'm only relying on prices from historical references. Historical references on the pricing of technology. Swap this. Let's swap this. It is instead fish rules. This. This is not to scale to me. But this. Battery indicator. Beautiful display. Physical buttons. Mm-hmm. Long lives. What qualifies as a hack? Sources vary, but generally being above 30 years old for human years. For human years. You remember a time before smartphones ruling the world? I'm trying to remember. Nuggets like this. I probably still have this lying around. Just have to find it. Only above 30. There was one interesting line that I heard where it was, if you're off the calendar, if you're over 31. I think that's kind of a snappy way of thinking about it. Because the other one is, what, cake? If it's 26th. If it's over 25. Or rather, well, like over 25, same as 26. Rounding. This baby took a AA battery to run. It held an entire CD. An entire CD. 2023 is off on the calendar. Look, months of the calendar. Months of the calendar. Something youth left? Enjoy it. Enjoy it. It gets harder every year. It gets harder every year. Especially with the way the economy's going. Wizard is 40? I thought Wizard was Wizard 40? I don't really pay attention to the definition of wizard. For some reason I thought wizard was 30 and above as well. I'm trying to remember. I think this was definitely over $100 for this MP3 player. May have been over. I mean, let me check. Probably has it in the. How much they cost? This was from '99. It was part of the second generation of MP3 digital audio players. Let's see. And I also remember when they stopped support for the program, so I had to use a third-party one, a third-party program to actually use this after a certain point. It had non-standard cables too, which I think it was kind of a case of, do I even have that? Would I even be able to move new music onto it, or would I have to just constantly listen to the old music? It retailed for, yeah, $299, but it probably was on sale too. Does it matter? I want to say this is the Bill Clinton defense, isn't it? This is the Bill Clinton defense. No cheating. Condom doesn't make it not work. Condom doesn't make it not sex. Unless you're talking about, I suppose, without a partner, in which case that doesn't count. The Bill Clinton defense? Really? Really? Well, it's kind of... I did not have sex with that woman, but at the same time, kind of, it depends on what your definition of sex is. Is oral sex sex? It's not. I'm not going to say it's not. It's more of a case of different definitions of sex, so. Go ask your mother. Go ask your father. Go get the birds and the bees. Yes, but it's a modifier. It's a modifier, I think. Which might be part of the problem there. Decade gives you more spells. I guess, wait. So I guess at 90 you get wish? Is that how it goes? I am paraphrasing. I was when that happened, but I wasn't paying attention. I wasn't paying attention. So this is kind of, you know, hearsay through through media. It was a popular topic at the time. That is true too. That reminds me, so there was a thing going around. There was a quiz going around about, I guess, a bit, some of that, and like, are you a... I don't remember what all the terms were, but some of them I recognized. Most of them I recognized. I don't remember if it was like, are you top, bottom, like switch, blah, blah, blah. And then there was side, and it was kind of a... what's a side? I don't honestly know what a side is. Really? What is it? And then looking up, and it's kind of an, okay. Okay. Huh. That's a... Not something that everyone needs to take into account, I suppose. but if that's your lifestyle, good for you. Uh, Basically someone who's not interested in penetration, apparently. That seems to be the definition. No, actually, apparently it's on Tinder, but I've literally never used Tinder, so what? I've never used Tinder, so and I suppose it was just added to Tinder, and it was petitioned to be added to Tinder, or rather, people were asking. So it got leaked from Tinder that they were going to be added it right beforehand. Yeah, new terms, new slang, catching up, catching up. They don't have. I don't. I was going to say I don't know if there are wizards on Tinder, but I suppose everyone has to start somewhere potentially. Look, so there have been a lot of quizzes going around, right? Like there's one about like what kind of waifu are you, what kind of boyfriend you are, or girlfriends. I've taken some of them. I haven't posted the results, but there was one that I remember that was about whether or not you're a top, bottom, a switch, a side. And it was just kind of a, what's a side? I don't even remember exactly what the. Oh, it wasn't like the other quizzes where you get kind of a randomized answer. It was a how do you hold your phone type deal. That's what it was. That's what it was. So a bit like the chaotic neutral, well, lawful good to chaotic evil, how are your monitors arranged type deal. Just photos with labels on them. Let me see if I can find this one. What was it? What was it? I swear we're gonna play Everdell later. We're gonna play Everdell in a bit. What was it? Phone holding. Ah, I can't be the only one who saw it, right? It must have popped up on my Twitter. It must have popped up on my Twitter. I didn't save it. So, are you soon today? Milk before cereal? I don't very often post the results to those. Not very often. I don't. Mm, I don't necessarily feel the need to. Mm, what is it? I'm not getting. I'm getting actual like how do you hold your phone things. Maybe I should use the word chart instead. Probably chart. This person has a crush on you? I haven't actually seen that one. Or rather, it's really frustrating when people have images of these quizzes and I can't tell where they're from. And the same thing like with the height chart too. That was going around and it took me a bit. I actually thank you, Cliff, for putting the link to the quiz in there because otherwise I would never have found it probably. Help Grandma find the memes, please. Help Grandma find the memes. Hmm. Maybe if I look it up on actual Twitter, because then it won't be informational. It will just be memes, right? Twitter's nothing but memes. Why is there so much on Bitcoin when it... Oh, because of the word hold. It's because of the word hold. I shouldn't be using that word. None of these work. Can't chart. I'll just have to... I swear it existed. I swear it existed. I'm not making this up. I'm not making this up. All I can think of with villains with capes is what Edna mode, like no capes. No capes. Whenever I think of most villains, okay, like Strahd, I think of a cape, I guess, because he's a vampire. Does that really count? Oh, actually, one more thing I realized that I should do that I did not. Wait. Where, add text for this. Text for this. Okay, I guess I'm just going to be going by hand. I'm going to be going by hand. Okay, that should be better. That should be better. Megamind? I've never seen Megaminds. I have never seen Megaminds. I almost skipped out on minions too. I was very lucky to mostly skip out on minions. Almost skipped out on minions. By minions, I mean Despicable Me. I don't know if I've seen the second one either. He did not take the cape off. I could definitely see that being a thing. I don't know if that's an actual trope, though. I don't know if that's an actual trope. What's going on Twitter? Or is this something that maybe peace of mind, leave it in Twitter? I see a lot of things on Twitter and it's just kind of oh, okay, scroll past. Don't need to care. Don't need to say anything. I don't say a lot on Twitter. What is what is a gamma male versus a sigma male? I don't know those. I only know the alpha beta omega stuff. I only know those ones. Don't judge me. Don't judge me. Yeah, okay. Seeing as a take off the gloves type thing. Yeah, taking off the cape. But they don't have, it's more of a, maybe it's a second multi-part fight type thing. So it might be a case of you start the fight and you hit halfway when he takes the cape off, potentially. The transformation sequence. Gamma male, that's not it, is it? No. No, it can't be. You're pulling my leg. You're pulling my hair. Pulling my ear. I honestly don't know if I've ever encountered. Maybe it's because I'm thinking about the uh cape thing. Like in games where I'm playing against a playing against in tabletop games, I'm thinking, okay, these people didn't have capes, as far as I know. I think only no, they wouldn't have had a cape either. I don't know if any of the enemies that I've fought in tabletop games have had capes, to be perfectly frank. It's kind of a huh. We're kind of lucky that they have clothes because most of them are not exactly human. No, not even a cloak. So, for instance, a blood demon, a lady made of blood. She didn't have a cloak. Necromancy or necromancer. Don't think she had a cloak either. Because she had the same design as the blood demon. Then there is the horrible thing from underneath the waves, which didn't have clothes at all. Then modern day thing did not have a cape, or a cloak or anything like that. He was more of a priest type thing. Not priest. What, there's a word for this, like a sermon giver, that kind of thing. Who else was there? Yeah, even going back to other games, I can't think of enemies that had cloaks or capes. We didn't fight anyone that telegraphed. Mm, like a child removed, like a child. Change it, $18 a month. Oh, the Sigma, Omega, all that junk. I really don't think any of them had capes. I really don't think any of them had capes. I don't even know if the villains that I created had capes, honestly. One of them was a dragon. That doesn't count. The half dragon was a pirate lady. It's not very cloak or capey. Uh, hmm. Actually, okay, maybe one of them did. Uh, but I also don't know if they picked up on the fact that she was wearing basically a wedding dress. So that may have been the more distracting thing. Oh, the ends of my tea is kind of bitter. Pirates are perfect for capes. She was much more of a no nonsense bitch lady. It was also the fact that, how to put it, I guess it's kind of hard to telegraph gender, I suppose. I've had that problem where I've created a character that I interpreted as, or like, I didn't even plan them a gender, or I deliberately refer to them as they. And like, nope, female DM, this is a female character. And then when it comes to the villains are male, right? And it's kind of a, no, she's a half dragon. It's a half dragoness bust. The statue, like a statue from the neck up or shoulders up. She's a pirate queen, not a pirate king. Um, I don't know. I didn't even think that she. I didn't think of that. Wearing her own flag as a cape. This is a board game stream. This is a board game stream. Demonical urge. Actually, maybe. Well, I was going to say devilical. Devilical's not a word. Fiendish. Fiendish desire. Alliteration. Demonical desire. Okay. Diabolical. Just keep on adding D's. So for here, for the stream, I was trying to find other C's. I didn't think very hard about the extra C's. I still haven't found the C's that I want for this. You know, it's cute critter, city building, cardboard. What else is it? What other C's can be stuffed in there? So, so we could do this while we can do this theoretically while I'm playing. We're gonna do a challenge mode. Or we can jump to F for Fiendish. So before we did Spring into Action, that was a shorter one. Common cards are free if you have a card in your city with the same name. Bake Off. E. We don't talk about the E. E. We don't talk about the E's. We don't talk about the E's. Actually, hold on one second. I'm thinking about that. What? There are certainly critters with E in that realm of existence. I don't remember what they were called. But I have a book for this. I have a book of friends. Let me grab my book real quick. I remember where I put it. I remember where I put it. Did I? It's not. It's not elf. You can talk about elves. You can talk about elves. There's nothing wrong with elves. Uh, oh, I don't know what an ODS is. Oh no. No, in the like D for demonic or devilish, and then F for fiendish. And I can sort this by name. So what's an E? There's bound to be. Imp. Oh no, Imp's Eye. Imp is Eye. Look, it started. There's Earth Gliders, Echinoloth, Echolids, Ember Guards, Erinyes, Euphorgums, Excruciarchs. Excruciarchs. That's a pretty good name for something that wants to hurt you. It's a pretty good name for something that wants to hurt you. Elves? Yeah. Excruciarch. Yeah. Yeah. Excruciarch. Batezu, evil, extraplanar, lawful. Lawful, evil. They are they're from the Fiendish Codex 2, page 132. They're a devil, specifically Batezu type. They are from Bator. I think that's how it's pronounced. Their size is medium, and the available, let me check, what is this column? This column, I believe, is spell-like abilities. This is a 3.5 document. I wonder if I can, I'm not going to share this, but it's more of a case of, maybe I can pop open this, and maybe it's going to have enough blocked out, so you can't, oh, neat, okay, this is fine, this is fine. Let me bring this up then. Yeah, no, I have a list. It's my... What? Can pop this in. Where did it go? All the way to the bottom. Okay. I can't tell what it's going to try and bring up. Ah, it's gonna bring up. Okay. Correct thing. Probably. Okay, this is the correct thing. My book of friends. My book of friends. Every creature, every fiendish creature from 3.5. Every fiend from 3.5. I also have duplicates in terms of stat blocks because they are referenced, and there's only 167 of them, honestly. Not the worst. Oh, I only included duplicates if the duplicates were different in some way. So, for instance, Abishai Red, some of them, one of the versions has more tags than the other, and they have different spells attached. Some of these, so some of these are kind of debatably fiendish because they 167 including duplicates where the duplicates are different again. Yes, so like Abishai's have 2 entries each for different colors because they have different tags and different spells. And then there's also a few cases where, let me see, there was okay. It was a bit of a discussion as to, for a fiend binder, what counts as a fiend? If they, what counts as fiendish? In this case, I believe my definition to start with was they are evil and they are extra planner. They may not necessarily have those tags though. They may not necessarily have those tags. So, let's see. There were a few in here where it was kind of a case of this wouldn't work because there's only, or rather, it would be really weird because there's only one of them. For instance, Dalmosh is a specific NPC. I believe he is the Flesh Mountains. He's not really. I suppose you could bind him as a fiend. However, at the same time, he's a location because he is the Flesh Mountains, I believe. So most of these things fall under 3.5's guidance of demons or devils or Yugoloths. There are some that are none of the above. And then there are some things that kind of, again, are like in a weird state because there is one of these in here is, I believe, can I look up the word hag? I mean hag in the 3.5 sense. Because one of the leaders of one of these circles of, or one of the, yeah, circles of hell was a hag of some sort, I believe. And so she has minions that are kind of boundary line fiendish. Yes. So that was the thing with the extra planner evil boundary because there are actually very few that fit into my definition that were from planes that weren't from one of the three big planes. And that's why I also have home plane marked as a column here, so I'd be able to tell, okay, this one is not from any of the given, or not one of the standard ones. So, like, I have Ember Guards from the elemental plane of fire. Uh, so, again, it depends on what your definition of a fiend is. If it is strictly evil and extra planner, then these count. Even though they're not from one of the three classically demonic planes. Demonic, fiendish. I'm trying to remember what else. There was another, like, kind of a gotcha. There was another gotcha or two. Oh, right. So, Rakshasa, I believe, was another issue. Where Rakshasa, classic fiend, right? But they're not bindable. Depending on your definition, because they may or may not be extra planner. And that's kind of a strangeness. Unless I have them under a different name, but I'm pretty certain that if Rakshasa were available, I would have put them on here. I don't remember what her name was. For the hag. I don't remember what her name was. Just that I think it wasn't an imp. It's a filth imp. It was not an imp at all. Not a blood bag. I may have put in like a little note in here to myself about what she was about. Expedition. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah, Rakshasa are kind of wild. Rakshasa are kind of wild. I also have things from some unusual settings in here, like Dragonlance, so it's kind of a case of, is this available? Is this available? Um, that's it. It wasn't a fetch. No, it was not a fetch. But this taught me a lot. This taught me a lot about. It taught me a lot about fiends. I I want to say this is what I spent my time doing when I was learning 3.5. I was collating a book to use in character. I don't know how to make a regular attack move. I don't know how to make a regular attack move because I was a caster. I was a weak as shit Truebinder, Namebinder, but boy, if I couldn't summon something that could do the work for me instead. Illyrian was another specific NPC. I just look her up. Because I remember actually reading pretty much through the Fiendish Codexes when I was working on this. So, what is it? Rulers of Hell 3.5, probably. Lords of the Nine Hills. So... Glacia? No. No, it was not. Oh, the Hag Countess is who Glacia replaced. That's why. Okay. So the Hag Countess. I look up the Hag Countess. Why play a fighter? Yeah, I mean, with the DM, with that particular DM, because of how Fiendbinders ran, it was more of a case of how to put it. It could be very annoying if I had a lot of creatures, but because of the very nature of true naming and fiend binding, it was extremely difficult for me to acquire new pets. So basically, all my pets were explicitly DM approved. Because there's no way I could have done it without him getting involved because of how much sheer money that concept was. I was starving for money. I think I'm freaking out here. Let me fix this real quick. Oop. I figured out what it is too, roughly. It's V-Bridger. V-Bridger is unhappy. V-Bridger can be very good, but it's also very wonk sometimes. Okay. But I can't really live without V-Bridger. What? Yes, so I only ended up with 2 pets. And then there was the case of if I had time outside of battle, pretty much, I could... I could summon a number of things. Oh, this is better. This is better. There was a special ability that Theme Minders had where you could summon a fiend of some sort and ask it to do something for you. But you only had a few minutes or something like that. Depending on how good of a fiend binder you were. So I created this so I would be able, if I needed a spell that I didn't have, because again, I was a true namer, and true namers sucked. They sucked. So I kind of cheated a little bit with this in order to be a little less sucky. I say cheat. It's more of a case of you have someone you have like traditional Gestalt characters in there who can like do miraculous things, and I'm over here cheerleading for them because I'm true namers are like legit the worst class in the entirety of 3.5. Even when you like buff the shit out of them. How poverty monks became magic for free. God. So what was the name of the imp or creature I'm thinking of? It was a book of... Was it Book of Vile Darkness that she was in? Let's see. Don't see anything. It's... Oh, also the other limitation. This is not actually all of the creatures that fit into that category, I remember now. Because you would notice that there are some major things missing in this category. And that would be anything above a CR of... Do I not? Oh, right. I do have a couple extra things in here. Let me see. Where did I put them? So, type. It was type outsider. That was my definition. My bad. It wasn't the extra planner, because some of them are missing that tag, but outsider. But there's also a limitation on their CR, which is actually the first column over here. So Beambinders, they don't explicitly cap out, but there's a very limited list that they are allowed to pick from normally as to what they're able to call. And it only went up to, I believe, 17, like Mariliths, I believe. So that's where the DM also capped me. Like, you can't do anything higher than 17. And we kind of made a new formula based on the original formula for binding, except the original formula was kind of whack because it wasn't linear. Or I shouldn't say it wasn't linear. It wasn't any pattern that we could figure out. It was not a pattern we could figure out. So I went from CR half, which is so the Calibons are what I'm thinking of, where they are remains of the Hag Countess, and they are outsiders that are evil, but at the same time are they devils? Are they not devils? Yeah, because it was poorly written. They forgot some things. They forgot some things. It was frustrating. It was frustrating. Oh, this didn't finish connecting. Okay, that should be better. Hopefully. Having to recreate things. So that's my book of friends. This is my book of friends. Let me tuck the book away. We are here for this instead. Not for talk of evil creatures, but talk of friendly creatures in the woods. Things that want to help. I kind of want to do the bake-off. It makes me want a pie. I had crumpets recently with jam on them. It's not exactly a pie at all. Let's try bake-off. So this is a game available on Steam. There's an actual physical board game for it too, which I have behind me still. I haven't put it back into the library in its proper place. They're not evil. I'm going to turn down and turn the music for the game back up. Hopefully it's not too loud. They're not all evil. Look, I mean, look at the Woodlands Alliance. Are they evil? Are they? You can't really pit the Woodlands Alliance against the Lizard Cult, against the Vagabond, against the merchants, can you? It doesn't really work out. You need the friction of some of the other groups, I feel like, to make that work. Actually, you probably could make the other game work. It's just going to be vastly different feeling. Because you're forcing another player that's usually a tertiary player into the major, I don't want to say antagonistic role, major conflict. You're forcing them into the major conflict. I do want to try out the other groups for that. There's more. Actually, I don't know if they've put out expansions for that yet digitally. I have the physical ones. Oh, that, right. It's been a very long time since I've seen South Park. I was not a fan of it growing up. I was not a fan of it when I was younger. Okay. Brief explanation. Wait, I'm a turtle? I'm a turtle? I don't really want to be a turtle, but I guess I am. So, each of us is trying to build a town, a city, in our space here. I'm the turtle. Here's the mouse. There's the hedgehog. We each have our own fields. Our field can contain up to 15 cards. And we can place things in our city, either from our hand or from the meadow. In order to do that, though, we need to be able to pay the cost of the item, which is on the left side. So in this case, in order for us to pick up the miner mole, we need to pay 3 berries. How we earn these materials is we have workers. In this case, right now, I have 2 workers who are just kind of chilling with me. And I'm going to send them off to pick up stuff for me. They could go fetch me a rock. They could fetch me a card and a berry. They could fetch me 2 resins. They could fetch me 3 woods. A whole bunch of stuff available. A whole bunch of stuff. And the point of this entire game is to earn points, of which no one has any points. Victory points. We are going to be going through 4 seasons, starting in winter, ending in autumn. And there are slight differences to each season. The number of workers that we get, the events that happen vary slightly. And another way to earn points, aside from having things in your city that earn you points, so like every card that you have in the city is a point. Well, would have points. Miner Mole is 1 point, Ruins 0 points, Wood Carvers 2, etc. There are other spots, events that you could place your worker on to claim. Only 1 person can claim these in the game. Each spot. If you have 3 paw print type cards in your city, that's 3 points if you land on this spot. You choose that spot. I say land on as if this were slightly randomized. It's not randomized at all. Or those aren't randomized. Thank you for the water. Let me take a sip. Proper sip. South Park was gross. I didn't like it as a kid. It was too weird for me. Growing or after I guess maybe 4 years ago or so, I did watch some of it and it was fine. It's all very pop culture, isn't it? Okay, stretch. Oh. You stopped it when you were an adult? And the only thing I really picked up, I guess, when I was younger was from the movie, there was the one song, right? Blame Canada? So I knew that. I don't know if you really deserve the blame, but I mean... Hey, hello, Tiggy. How are you? No, I want to say they paid for Disney Channel. That's kind of ritzy. I only got Disney Channel when it was kind of a freebie at times. There were certain periods where it's kind of, oh yeah, here's some extra channels. As a trial run. What Oh, I did have a crack. I did have a crack. Okay. Oh, there was another one. I don't know if you could hear those. So, there are events, basic events that are just based on the number of cards that you have in your city. And then there are special events on the tree, that deal with you having certain cards in your, very specific cards in your city. So if you have the lookout and the minor mole, and you can claim this, and when you claim it, you can do the special action, in which case, place up to 3 wood, 2 points for each wood that you give up. So it's 6-point max card. Or event. 6 max event. 6-point max event. Monk in a dungeon. Technically unlimited, I suppose. 3 points for every prisoner in the dungeon. Tax relief, the judge and the queen. 3 points, but you get to activate all the production cards in the city. Cemetery and the shepherd, 3 points for each buried worker in your cemetery. So again, this is a bit heavy in terms of what's going on here. Between the dungeon and the cemetery, they're both reliant on you trashing cards. There is a limited pool of these in general. I don't remember how many. So let's take a look at what's available. Right, this is a special event, which means challenge rules. Excellent. When you send them to a destination card, you gain two berries. So the post office is destination card. It has the paw prints on it. Is Rigor Mortis a band? I know like the general concept of it. I've watched some people play a few minutes of Mortuary Assistant. Scant few minutes before I tapped out. Different few minutes spread out by weeks and weeks and weeks. Just a real quick, when you send a worker, you get the berries. I feel like I've actually gotten weaker because when I was watching Shinri play it, I tapped out, because I was watching from the very beginning. I tapped out like after the initial, like after the haunt started, so to speak. But not by a whole lot, by like a minute or two. I never really liked Rick and Morty. I don't really like animated gore and stuff like that. So I remember seeing 1 or 2 episodes and it I don't know, it wasn't really my thing, so I never watched it. I think I watched the episode where they went inside a body or something. That was like the worst idea. Do not pickle the primrose. Do not pickle the primrose. I do that enough on Thursdays. That enough on Thursdays. And last Saturday. Last Saturday was too much pickle. Too much pickle. Okay. There's no other operating. It's only the post office. What is the best start here? Ah! Historian would be nice, but we don't have a clock tower, do we? There's no clock. Oh, I have a historian in my hand. It doesn't matter. I should get a farm. I should get a farm. I should get a farm. 2 wood and a resin. Okay. feel like I know this is a bit overkill. I'm gonna do this. A little extra be fine. I want to say at least I like pickle juice. Actually, I guess when Rick and Morty was still in the first like 2 seasons or so, I remember going to a specialty bar, I suppose, attached. It was a liquor store. No, it's not. Liquor store's not the word either. I don't know what the word is for a distillery. Okay, it's a distillery. I went to a distillery that had a bar attached to show off their drinks and stuff. And I remember them having a... No, it was not a Rick and Morty bar, but they did have a pickle drink, like a Pickle Rick drink or something like that. Obviously not trademarked or anything like that. They were just ripping it off. But it was actually pretty tasty for whatever it was. There was definitely pickle juice in it. Because pickles were in at the time in general, especially with mixed drinks. Now, I don't know if they made a Rick and Morty bar officially. So, someone grab the historian. Okay. It still kind of freaks me out though, or the turtle. I'm not expecting. I'm used to being the mouse. I'm used to being the mouse or the squirrel. Okay. We can put down the farm from here. I don't think there's a problem with that. And also looking at everything. Evertree's out. The Evertree's out. I say that as if there aren't multiple ones. There aren't multiple Evertrees. Now knowing what I know, that there are 2. We will... hold on. Just more so... This is the cheaper one of the 2, so I'm not going to have him tied. Like, I want to play him, but I don't want him to be free. I don't want him to be the free one. That's the problem here. Kinda sucks. Guess I'll have to live with it. I know that there was the whole issue with that recently. Since I didn't watch the show, I didn't really pay attention to it. It was more of, I didn't realize though that he was both main voices. That's going to be interesting. But it wouldn't be the first time that they've replaced like the front runner. Another farm? How many more farms are there going to be? Is this really it? I guess I could play the monk. I don't know if they're... I can build another farm! I could build another farm. There's nothing in here for ruins, is there? There's not. Discard construction from your city. I don't really know if I need another farm, honestly, because of other things that are going on right now. So I'm going to move on to spring. Really, there's nothing else for me to do. Okay, I'm just making sure. It's a very scary message. There's something else that you could do. There's something else you could do, and you're not doing it. Why aren't you doing it? Why aren't you spending all your money? There's no such thing as savings in the forest. No such thing as savings in the forest. When it comes to that sort of thing, I am very much a saver. I'm kind of worrying, like, do I have enough? Do I have enough for this? Actually, I have a vacation coming. I have to buy tickets for. We had to plan out where we were going to eat because you have to do it like 80 days in advance or something like that, 60 days. It's kind of rough. Doing it with other people. they're trying to set up, so we're gonna have breakfast at 7:30, and it's kind of a, you realize that transportation's not running at 7:30, right? Do you have a plan for how to get there at 7:30 in the morning? But if we don't do it at 7:30, we're not going to be able to have the full amount of time for our other activities. It's kind of a, you have like a 3-year-old with you, a 3-year-old human. That's you're going to have a horrible time of it if you're trying to fit everything into the park day. People will make it a point that they're harmless. I don't necessarily know about that. Not necessarily about that. I think there are people who are like that. In short, it's impossible. It's not impossible to do the 7:30 breakfast thing. It's just very painful. It's very painful. It's like you're trying to plan a bus route, except you have to take 4 different lines to get there. So instead of it being like a 15-minute or half-hour journey, it's an hour plus. Not fun. Is it Schwipsig? Is this a Ligma thing? All I could think of is ne, shiteru. Did you know that a hippo's sweat is pink? I think that was one of the facts. I think a hippo's sweat is pink. Also, ne, shiteru. Did you know a giraffe's tongue is black? It was black. Let me double check. Giraffes' tongues are black, right? It's either that or blue. Okay, so it's purple, blue, or black. I remember where I learned that one. That you did know. Did you also watch Salute, what was it? Salute My Shorts? Salute My Shorts? Because that was a big plot point, wasn't it? When you had to call into radio stations to complete contests. And the person who, the camp counselor was the one who knew the correct answer to that question. The counselor that they hated so much. Salute Your Shorts? Yeah. There's also Hey Dude. There were a few, it was a Nickelodeon live action TV show. They were, I think, fairly short. They were probably maybe 13 episodes. And they had different themes. And Salute Your Shorts. Camp Bonawana, we hold you in our hearts. But when we think about you, it makes me wanna... No? Not familiar? Maybe it was an American thing then. That may be true. That much younger though? That much younger? I guess you are. Yes, you are. It started airing in 92. It doesn't mean it stopped airing in 92. There were reruns. There were reruns. It finished in 94? The reruns? No, the reruns didn't finish in 94, surely. What about... Was Stick Stickly during your time? Ah, what was the P.O. Box jingle? Give me a second. Stick Stickly. Write to me, Stick Stickly, P.O. Box 96963, New York City, New York State, 10108. No? Started. Look! That was maybe not the... It ran for longer in terms of reruns. It ran for longer in terms of reruns. Probably. Probably. I could afford the Historian. I could afford the Historian now. Do I want to? I probably do. Draw 3 cards. If I... What do I need most? What do I need most? If the mouse would get off the... It's too late. It's too late. I'm going to do this one again. So I can play the post office. Actually, do I even really want to play the post office? I don't know if I do. There's a point in the chapel. Okay. I don't know if I want to do that either. I don't really know if this is going to affect the game that much, honestly. This particular challenge mode. Sorry, just looking like I don't know if that's a wise decision. I'll do this. I don't know if they had specials. Maybe it was a summer thing. It was a summer thing. Oh, we have an Undertaker now. But at the same time, everything else. Ranger's fun. Ranger's a neat concept. Oh, the king is out. Or you have no castle. So... So those, I suppose, the ones I mentioned, those two were maybe like a bit special, but there was still... Are You Afraid of the Dark, right? That lasted longer, surely? That entered into some sort of common parlance? I have to admit, though, I didn't really watch Are You Afraid of the Dark because I am kind of afraid of the dark. So it didn't help to watch that. Did not help to watch that. But it was a typical... The setup is cute. The setup is cute. It was a group gathering around a campfire and telling a story. So it was a... There's a word for that when it's a story wrapped in a story sort of concept. Shahrazad-esque. Arabian Nights-esque. Arabian Nights. What is the word for this? There's a word for that. That scaffolding. Framing device. Is that what it's called? Frame story. It's a frame story. A modern day frame story. What do I want to... I don't want to do any of these things. These things suck. If I get the chapel, like what am I even working towards here? The judge, the queen, monk, dungeon. Cemetery, shepherd, judge, queen. I'm not even particularly working towards... Okay, so he has production. So he needs 4 production things. He's almost at that one. I could just put down the post office. I just put it down. I do have the space for it. And I can get it back at the end if I don't want it anymore. The other option was... I don't have the berries for that. I don't have the berries for that. It kind of sucks that this takes 2. Oh, he's finally in spring. Am I the only one with it? I am. Okay. I still have 2 workers, though. Resin refinery would be nice to put down, but it requires a rock. It requires a rock! I could do this. This is chancy, because I don't like any of the things in here. And also, actually, it would be very chancy, because I probably wouldn't be able to play it, looking at the things that are out here. Oh! One of each. Oh, one of each except for stone. Even for every 2 discarded. So what I want to discard this, the farm. If I discard everything but the resin refinery, I can get a stone and something else. But I don't know if I necessarily want to toss the monk because of the fact that I could do this. But I need the dungeon first. I need the dungeon first. Or I could just go for a single rock. Single rock sucks. Now it's just started in spring. Still have 2 workers left? I just do a single painful rock. Single. Oh, we got the cemetery out. It costs 2 rock. It costs 2 rock. Okay. Okay. So for him, for the cemetery, it's only worth 6 points. It's only worth 6 points max. It's for each buried worker. Oh wow, yeah, right, okay. Permanently. Permanently. That really hurts. But you get to play one for free out of 4. I can see why now. There's very little way for us to get this second rock for the cemetery, except if we use the haven. Which might have to be it, honestly, because there's no other way. If we get rid of everything except for the monk, we can get 2 items out of it, and that might be best for it. It's kind of expensive. I'm not super enthusiastic about the monk, but at the same time, what are we going to get? We're going to get 2 rock. Because I think that's all we need to get the cemetery. There are a few shows I missed out on that people talk about. Eureka's Castle, I think, was one of them. I missed that entirely. We're going to take this. We have no more workers, but we sure have cards to play. Ah, and I can get the Undertaker for free then. It's a case of... Then I can pick up a second cemetery! Oh, there's 2 Undertakers on the board. So otherwise we need a shepherd. I could get the general store right now, actually. It's worthwhile, I think. Both Undertakers aren't going to get lost in a second. I'm gonna grab this guy, too. Yes, he's going to be free. He's going to be free. It's kind of a wait. Have I actually been using the historian? And yes, I have been. Otherwise, I wouldn't have all these things. I can't quite afford this, but it's fine. Three to replace. What gets replaced? Do I trash the expensive ones? Do I trash the expensive ones? I actually do with the harvester, though. So expensive. He's not actually that expensive, but kind of an he. Does anyone else have a? Do not. Okay. Goodbye. All the expensive ones are gone. I'll draw one from the meadow. What ones do we want to take? I could take I could take the harvester. Although there's the case of the inn. I could have the harvester for free, but I have to leave the harvester in the field then, or in the meadow. It's weird to call it meadow. I like field better. It might depend though on what they call these areas exactly, because this could also be the field. Actually, it might be a case of this is the meadow and this is the field. The field is where the city is built. It's a more cut down area. It's more, I don't say plans, but something akin to that. It's on. We're gonna take this one. We're going to take this one. Oh, the monastery is here. Ah! He took an event. Okay, special events. Now it's a case of worrying about things. So for this, he costs 1 berry. The only thing I can do is play cards. Oh, right, this. Reveal 2 cards, play 1 up to 3. So it's reveal 2 cards from the pile. And he's essentially free because post office. I could also try and I can't. Maybe move him off to the dungeon later, honestly. Going to confirm that. Oh, we might want to do this, actually. Decreasing the cost by quite a bit. Oh, I have my own harvester now. The strawberries remind me of something from my childhood. I don't exactly remember what. Strawberry shortcake, perhaps? I think that would be it. Too bad it's not this season. It's still winter. And it's not even spring that strawberries are really from. It's summer. I guess I wish it was summer again. It doesn't feel like winter. I think that's part of the problem. It feels like spring already. It completely skipped over winter, even though we're just what, scant 2 days until February. It's a bit of a shameful winter. I could use this to gain a rock. I could. Use that to gain a rock. What would be... Sorry, thinking about What else would be optimal for this? Like, what would I use the rock for? What would I use the rock for? Oh, I would use the rock for this. The lookout. Okay, I have a plan, I guess. The plan... Okay, so it's the miner mole and the lookout. Just looking at the chapel thing. You don't have a chapel, so it's kind of a bit strange. It's a bit strange here. There's also the monk dungeon thing, which we haven't finished. I think I'm focusing too much on the special events and not on other things. I'm so close to some of these, but at the same time... not. Because I'm looking at the types of cards I have out. And the ideal thing would be to have 3 of some of these. Which, if I place the inn, that would count. I don't have the resin for it, though. One more quick thing. Not this. I wanted to check the seasons again. So with the Harvester, by playing it, I would not get... Actually, the only reason I can play this is if I'm doing the Innkeeper. Yes, we're gonna actually see. Actually, no, we're not going to do that because if I can get one more scroll critter, before I swap them out. One meadow card to... This is I'm gonna have to probably do a Haven move or something soon. So many cards. Peddler would be good too. General store is also good. But overwhelming need of berries versus a bunch of other things. I don't know if I'm going to have a lot of leftover resources to be I only have one more production season. So 2 berries versus 2 of whatever the hell I want, but I have to pay in. We're gonna take this card. Another barge toad. Okay. None of these count. Okay. So I need 1 resin. 1 resin. I'm just going to constantly be landing on this. So we can finally play an in. You can finally play an in. Okay, he got that one. He got that one. That's fair. But I can get this one. I can grab this one. No problem. It's only 3 points for me. I need to catch up. Ah! Okay. I see what that move is. We can do it. We can do it. We can do it. Do I put the harvester down? No, I have 5 more slots. If I put the shepherd down, I need to care about that. All I can think about right now is blank that over there. And using them interchangeably. Okay, if I do this... Damn it! Look, it's been a minute. It has been a minute. I don't know why that isn't working. Is the bot asleep? It must be. Internal headcount. They're using my inn. Okay. Shepherd. We'll give that to Mouse. I can't claim it until the end. Looking at the other people, what do they have? Do any of them have that sort of setup? Are any of them prepared to take that card away from me? And it looks like they are not prepared to do that. I am free to do that. And there's the other ones where it's... Oh! All the other bits are gone. Okay. No more basic events. It's only special events. So... a little bit rough now. If I do this... If I do that move, it will be... What will come out of it? What is the desired outcome? There's nothing else on the board that applies. How many? Okay, there's only one of those out on the board. Only one of those. Oh, right. The crane. The crane. Let us play the crane. The crane game. That means theoretically, some other things would be free. Where are... Oh, they're in fall now. Oh, it's over! It finished! I only failed twice, almost 3 times. You could probably hear the 3rd time coming. Cat ears, funny outfit. Or trash can. What is the suffering flavor? What is the suffering flavor? I'm sorry, I splashed myself in the face with my water. I don't have a bunny outfit. I don't have a bunny outfit. Not on stream anyway, not on stream. Let's see, actually, is there even such a resource? I think that might be a harder one to do because of the fact that... Actually, because it's so unneeded addition. What? There's the scab that I got, but that's just a still image. It's just a still image. And how many for like VTuber assets? I don't know if there is a bunny outfit out there that's super popular because, again, like a lot of outfits are bigger than your default VTuber's outfit to cover up bits and bobs, and bunny outfits don't really allow for that unless you do some interesting trickery around it. Trash. I have a trash can, I have cat ears, or I have a maid outfit. And chat has proven that they can be layered. You only get one. You only get one right now. I think I saw you retweet that. I think I saw you retweet that. Here's. I saved this so I don't have to. I think I saved it. Hold on. Yeah, I did save it. I saved it. So it's a little quicker. I think they're about the same size. Not one ear bigger than the other. It's a little rough around the edges, but it gets the job done. And it's not too poorly color matched, I think. Let me double check that. Yeah. I think the ear fluff is a little bit on the pale side, and the ears might be a little bit bright. A little bit brighter. Hello, Toy Maker. You're a toy maker. What kind of toys do you make? Out of wood? Out of cardboard? So many options. I guess do plushes count as toys, I wonder, too? Like stuffed animals. I've been seeing a lot of people who make dolls recently. I didn't realize that was such a big community, I suppose. Doll makers. Ball jointed doll makers. It seems like a very big undertaking. And I guess there's now even I don't want to call it a business, but so people design their own doll, but then they hand it off to someone else to actually make it jointed. I didn't even realize that was an option. That you could divide it into such categories. It feels a little bit like cheating, but at the same time, I'm trying to think of what word I would have said instead of McDonald's. Like, what sounds similar. Oh, this is something to do with dolls. Make dolls. Make dolls. Okay. Yeah, I could see that. I could see that. Make dolls. Let's see. Add you for what? What do we want to do here? We still haven't seen a dungeon. However, we have 2 people here. Oh, I'm not playing with other people. I'm playing against AI. I am playing challenge mode. What do I do? What do I do? Tower? I shouldn't do clock tower. I could do cemetery. Didn't realize I was an intern? I'm not an intern. I'm not an intern. School? I don't know if I want to do that. I would be using the crane. I think I'm gonna hold off on that for a little bit. Someone else is in autumn, so it's a bit of a case of... I still have 2 workers left. And at the end of the game, I guess I pick up the cemetery shepherd. I might want to take advantage of this being open, actually, because I may not need it now, but I think I would need it later. I'm going to do that. Take advantage of needing stone. Worker placement, work placement. Yeah, I am beyond being an intern. I am far beyond being an intern. You don't send an intern to do... What is a city builder called exactly? City planners? Is there a word for that? You create Megan dolls? I don't know what Megan dolls are. The only dolls that I have are folks, and it's kind of a case of, I guess, it's not a... They're kind of like grandfathered into the ball jointed doll community-ish, even though they're not actually proper strung dolls. They're more like giant action figures. They're like giant action figures. But then again, I guess there's the case of there's like Monster High dolls and stuff. They're not ever sold as like ball jointed. They're just dolls of other kinds. But I guess really, what differentiates a doll from an action figure? There's been some releases, depending on the names, where it's really a marketing thing. It's really a marketing thing. And wasn't that actually an issue with, I think it was X-Men? Once upon a time, I think. Like whether or not some of the merchandise they had was considered a doll or not, or an action figure because of tax differences. Mm-hmm. Nothing else interesting in. One more worker. Thanks. Thank you. Girly girl or goth? For what, though? For what? There's a wide variety of those words can apply to. Wide variety of things. Why can't you indulge in both? There's no reason you can't. All I can think of is if you've... There's a band called Cruise Shadows. And it's kind of a case of... I guess you would call them a backup dancers, probably both. It's not like pastel pink girly girl, but... It's not tomboyish. But I think part of that is also the giant fur leggings, I guess, that they have on there. I don't think I have enough space for the extra farm, honestly. Like, it just wouldn't. It wouldn't. I only have 11 spaces, so I want to make sure that they count. It's like, honestly, the general store is probably a better option. Or I should check out... They have a theater. Theater comes with a bard. Okay, making sure it didn't... It's the fairgrounds that comes with a fool. Looking at what they have and seeing if they're planning on any of the events... They're planning on any of the events. Oh, there's also the inn is open right now. The inn is open right now. 11, 13. I know what I'm going to do. One more slot down. I don't think he had anything to turn that into a positive. I don't think he has a cemetery. He has a lot of characters. He doesn't have necessarily a lot of places. Play a card. Sees another farm. Another farm. We're not doing another farm. We only have so many spots left. I want to double check to see what happens with the season change. We gain 2 workers and activate all production cards. That means that we're going to get a berry. We're going to get another berry. We're going to get 1 more material. That's it. Okay. So we're going to get a lot of berries. I don't think there's anything in my hands I want to... Art digital? Yeah. That was actually one of the earlier games that I've played. It feels really weird to go rock, but man, I'm not going to live without... I don't want to be scrimping for rock again. I actually don't know if I've played Root since the beginning of this year. I don't think. But I was playing it earlier in the year. Or earlier, like the previous year. Tried out the winter map for winter. Trying different challenge modes. I don't think I have all the expansions, but I have them, not digitally, I have like the physical copies of the game. I have the physical copies of the game. Same thing here. I have a physical board game library. Today I was actually originally planning on Scythe, but I didn't pick up... I didn't make time to read the rules because I was doing... I was playing Bloodstained! I was playing Bloodstained instead. And also I was kind of hungover. I was kind of hungover. I did pop Scythe open and then I saw it. It was kind of a case of, oh right, it's by this group. The UI is a little, not the fondest, I suppose. Like I didn't even actually open a tutorial or anything. Just looking at the way it was initially laid out, it was kind of a, right, it's by the same group who did this. Not this is in Everdell, but as in, I think Viticulture. I think it was the same group who did that. Okay. There's nothing I want to do here. I guess, actually, this is probably going to be deck or discard. Play one for free. So, just more so, discard pile is where? Here's the discard. Is there any way for me to see the discard pile? Do this. I think I actually want to bury some workers so I could do Cemetery Shepherd. And the question is, what am I going to bury them for? And I have limited slots left. King. I'm gonna sit on the king. I'm gonna sit on the king. I don't remember which pile. I don't remember which pile. We're going to try the discard because I think that's what we're looking for. Dungeon. Is there a dungeon in the discard is the question. Is there a dungeon in the Discord? Dungeon in the discard. There's no Discord. There's no Discord. I don't have a Discord. I actually found out, I'm gonna check the deck instead, that I had my... It's only a top 4 cards. Okay. I could grab the Minor Mole. It's Minor Mole and Clock Tower? Hold on 1 second. Minor Mole. It's not very worthwhile except for the fact that I've got here my little... If it's the same type of setup as like, I think there's my little Scythe too. It's not surprising. They like making mini games out of their big games, this group. So, it's Stonemeyer, right? Let me check. Wait. Is it Stonemeyer? Can I spell Stonemeyer? No, I'm thinking of something else. But they do have my little Scythe. Stonemeyer does. Re-implemented. It's kind of weird that they have my little Everdell simply because it's already kind of child friendly. But I guess you have to keep the IP rolling. You have to keep the IP rolling. So, Minor Mole. Minor Mole. What? Is what up there? What are we going to copy? Sorry, just the copy Minor Mole. No, that's not a good idea. I could do the wood one because the miner mole lookout combo requires wood payoff. So we're going to do that. So it's our own lookout. 3. And this is going to be a case of, is it... Do I use an in for it or not? Do I use an in? Technically, nothing wrong with that. There might be a better use for it, though. There might be a better use for it. Let's do a lookout. That's right, we could do this. We can confirm this. And it also saves us space. So that's the number of points that we can get. I spent all my wood. It's always a bit finicky though. We'll go for max points on that. We'll see if that was a wise decision later. We'll see if it's wise later. What's the next move? So I have that one. I know I don't have to go for all of them. I'm definitely not going for tax relief. Cemetery Shepherd, it's worth 3 points right now. If I do another of the same move and get lucky, which I kind of doubt is going to happen. Monk Dungeon. I don't have a monk and I don't have a dungeon in play. There isn't even a dungeon. I haven't seen a dungeon out. I've not seen a dungeon out. I have the Undertaker out, so I feel like I should use it. Do we get Chansey? Do we get Chansey? Not the Pokemon. Let's get Chansey. We have few slots, but we will get lucky. There will be a dungeon in here. There will be a dungeon. There won't. There won't be a dungeon. Okay. Won't be a dungeon. We might want to go theater. Perhaps. Theater might be a good option. Let's take another look. How many unique critters do we have? We have... That's not unique. It's unique. 1, 2, 3. 3 unique critters. That's 3 points. That's 3 points. It's also rather expensive. It's also rather expensive. So that's not the worst thing. It's not great, but it's not the worst. Next we're gonna go for that. I have 11 berries. This is awful. I wish I had. I mean, I could buy that. That's no problem. I'd do the king after all. I could do the king and then I can theoretically do the monk anyway. The other option is... the king is probably a good option. Since we have 2 events done. We still have 5 berries. Wood carver? It's more so I pay 1 in. None of them are finished. None of them are finished. I still have 2 workers. One of them has only 1 worker left. Double check. Dungeon. I never ends up with a dungeon. Or ends up with that either. So it's kind of a case of... I have so many cards. The historian has done a lot for me. The historian's done a lot for me. I could, theoretically, actually, I wonder if I could do this. I only have 1 space left. However, it's kind of a case of, do I try to do the monk, where it's going to be 4 points? Or palace for 7 points? But I have to trash most of my hand to do this. To get the 3 stone. Or rather, to get the 2 wood, 1 resin. I could actually drop 1 there. That's not a problem. That would be my last card. For 7. That might not be the worst idea, honestly. Might not be the worst idea. I'm gonna do that. Except I still need a wood. I still need a single wood. My bad. My bad. There's the dungeon. Critter from your city upside. For 3 fewer. The thing is, then you want something that has no points. So, like, I could build a dungeon as my last card, and then throw the I could throw the pigeon in there. I could throw the pigeon in there to free up space. That is my interpretation. That it would allow me to free up space as well. To increase the cost by 3. If I do that, would I still be able to play the palace? I'm short by 1 right now. I'd have to pay 3 materials in. I still have 1 worker. So, mental math here. I would need to make up... I would need to make up 2 stone and a resin to do that. That would not be... That would actually be exactly feasible, wouldn't it? Then all I would need to do is pick up a piece of wood. Yellow. We're gonna try it. Although, I'm doing the dungeon, at the same time, it's kind of... I'm not gonna be able to put the monk down. I'm not gonna be able to put the monk down. What is the... What? How many points is this going to net me? It's going to net me... 0 points, isn't it? Altogether, that this play. 15th slot, gonna become 14th slot. It's just making it slightly cheaper. Cheaper by cards instead of by placement. I think. And I'm still going to actually need that bit anyway because of the... I'm going to be short of wood still. I'm still going to be short of wood. Last thing I could do is copy any basic or forest location. They're at 15:15. They're all booked up. The other thing would be, yeah, each prisoner in the dungeon. Sorry, it's 3 for each prisoner in the dungeon. It's more so a case of if I actually do the monk dungeon trick, if I play the dungeon and make room for the monk possibly, and spend berries, so the monk would be worth 4 points. Dungeon's worth nothing. That is 6 points total if I have 1 critter in the dungeon. If I stuff something else in the dungeon, if I stuff a... I have another common critter that I would want to put in the dungeon. If I toss the minor mole in, perhaps. This is going to be a bit strange. We're going to try this out. Will this actually work? We're going to try it. In order to put the second one down, frick, I need the ranger. That fucks up the plan. It's too late to back out, though. It is too late to back out. And I can't actually play another card, can I? I'm at 15. Will it let me? It's gonna go into the dungeon. You gotta look out, Wander. It's kind of a wait, but I can't. He's free-ish, I guess. It doesn't really count, though, does it? What? He was a worthless freeloading pigeon. He was a worthless freeloading pigeon. But now we qualify for the monk dungeon. It's just not as many points as it could have been as if I had played the palace, after all. Because of the ranger deal. I could ruins. But there's no point to that. There's no point to that. All I can do is this. Right? It's kind of a... This is a little strange to me. I have 15. I play it for free, but is it going to be like, yo, let's do this. I played it for free. It doesn't count against 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Okay. I guess that's fine. This feels a little broken. I don't know if I was supposed to be able to do that, but it was just 1 point, I think. That was a ranger, right? Where did he go? Yeah, he's a common critter, so... I don't think I have anything that counts up. One sec. Yeah, I'm not going to be playing that. So a bit surprising there. That felt a bit easier, and I don't honestly know how much the bake-off played into it. I don't know how much the bake-off played into it. Out of all the things. But I guess focusing on the events helped quite a bit. Focusing on the events helped quite a bit. I don't know if that's a valid move in all the challenges, though. I don't think I'm going to play another challenge today. Don't. I might leave off with this. Let's see. But hey, I completed one challenge. What is the more advanced version of the Bake Off? Oh, opponents start with an extra worker. I think that for Root, when they have the multi-level challenges, it's simply like versus medium AI versus hard AI. I wonder why they didn't do that here. But I suppose we don't even know what kind of... AI we're playing against in these. I just thought that all of these were difficulty normal. No, but Root has different things going on, though, for the challenge modes. It was enforcing actions or removing actions from your set. Root was also able to have, I think, mix the AI levels. So you could be playing against a difficult Vagabond, but an easy Marquise. That sort of thing, versus here where I go to solo play. AI is straight across the board. Like, you can't pick and choose. But then again, all the AI are the same too. But at the same time, Wingspan also supports mixing AI difficulty in the same game. So you could have 1 medium and 2 hard. Or what have you. So... I also don't really envy... I don't envy the programmers here having to emulate hard players. Having to emulate game players. I wonder how that even works. How do you build an AI for a game? At the same time, though, I guess, compared to regular games, like video games, this isn't too much different. Maybe that's something to ask. I don't know a whole lot of people who do video game I know people who program, but not video games specifically. And even then, it's kind of a case of, is it a video game that requires AI like this? AI in general, in terms of working its players. A lot of indie games sort of dodge that entirely, right? I don't know how much, for instance, RPG Maker stuff. How the AI is built for enemies and those sorts of games. Is it kind of a case of it will do this sort of attack X% of the time and this type of attack another percent of the time? Like, how do... Actually, I suppose that's also a question, like, how for Pokemon and stuff like that, when you're battling wild Pokemon, because those were such simple games, how did that work? Because it was a big deal at the time, right? That fitting it onto the cartridge. Sufficiently advanced science is magic. Programming is magic. Roll a d4. They just choose random attacks. That's fair. But again, is it like just roll a d4, or is it roll a d10 and then if it's within these values, it's this type of attack? And the same thing, I suppose, for if you're fighting against the... if you're fighting against trainers. Because some of them do use potions and stuff too, and that's not one of the basic 4. And they don't always follow strictly the same set of patterns for which Pokemon comes out next, right? For the old games. It's not like they go straight down the line, is it? There was always a random chance, I felt like, of something fucking up your plan. That you really think they went straight down the line? I say it's been a while since I've played them, but there is like Let's Go Pikachu and Let's Go Eevee, and those were based on the original games, right? With some changes, that may have been one of the changes. I might still have the DS. I might still have my DS. I still have my, not DS, not my DS. I might still have the Game Boy. And I might still have my copy of Red. I'm not 100% certain though. I could check. And it's also the case of, do I have batteries? Does the Red cartridge, they had batteries back in the day, right? Not casually replaceable ones, but more so not, when I say not casually replaceable, I'm not talking about like pinball, because that one did actually have a battery that you had to change because of the rumble pack, I think. Hello, Heroic Logic. I'm actually ending for the day. Night. I'm ending for the night. I kind of want to make a pie, but I don't have anything to make it with. We succeeded in one challenge today. We succeeded in the bake-off. It's with jam for breakfast, for lunch. Okay. I'll have to take... Okay, hold on. Actually, I'm going to take a really quick look to see if I can find my Game Boy. It would be right over here. Yes. Yes, I found it. Give me a second. I found my copy of Pokemon Red and Pokemon Yellow, and in the... These aren't... Okay, I found my first case. They're in the wrong cases. I can tell that this is the red case because it's got a really messed up latch from when I did not understand how these cases worked. It's like half gouged. And I also have my Game Boy. It's the purple one. Does it have It does not have batteries. Okay, that's a problem. I can't play without batteries. Bye. That was something that you were okay with doing, right? Blowing on cartridges. Even for Game Boy ones. Ow! Sorry, I snapped my finger in the cartridge when I was closing it. The cartridge holder. Okay. Let's see, is there anyone else who's currently playing board games? Anyone else playing board games? Well, there's no other VTubers playing board games that I see. I'm trying out the Monday, Wednesday, Friday schedule, so it's a different mix of people to... It's a different mix of people to go through. I'm going to mute this. Oh wait, it's already mute. I'm going to see what they're doing. Don't know what they're playing right now. For this upcoming week. So yeah, schedules change. Wednesday is going to be Bloodstained after all. I didn't do the 2. It was a bit too difficult to work around. Or like 2 and then a break and then 2 for streams. But Wednesday, I will be hopefully a little better at some of the mechanics that I've been flubbing. I've practiced a little bit more of those. The stupid flying jellyfish across the screen. Those. Or I've leveled up enough shards that I don't really have to worry about getting hit. Would you be interested in... Here's a trade-off. Someone playing board games live-ish? Or another VTuber? That's the divide here. Which community do I branch off into tonight? Yours? Which road? VTuber solidarity? Roll for it? We can stick with VTubers. Oh! Lobotomy Bunny is doing art today. It's Valentine's Day pixel art. Let's take a look at what she's doing. Let's go visit her. I visited her last week too, but it's a completely different day. It's a completely different day. I was going to say I've never raided on a Monday before. I have actually probably once or twice. Those were special occasions, those were holidays. Holidays don't count. But thank you very much again for coming tonight, even though it's not the normal night, but maybe it will become the new normal. It'll become the new normal. Wednesday 9 p.m. normal. Bloodstained. Friday is going to be AMV night. I'm digging through AMVs from the aughts. That's the way that people refer to them, right? And look at the amazing things that people used to make before before you were able to do necessarily a whole bunch of stuff with like 3D. I think it's a lot more like single, not as much intermixing the shows, I suppose. But we can talk about that when we get there. And Sunday is going to be reading again, monster tier list. But we're going to finish it eventually. We only have like 3 more sections to get through for the monsters. But thank you very much again for coming.